another day, another dollar.
So you're starring in Cagefighter as wrestler Randy Stone. What drew you to this project?
It was kind of thrown in my lap when it first started, and I just jumped all over it, and because it's kind of all my kind of interests rolled into one, and they wanted a professional, somebody with some name in the professional wrestling world for this role, and I just kind of seemed like right place, right time for me. So I thought it just sounded like fun and jumped in.
What was it like working with Chuck Liddell?
Very cool. To me, he's a sports hero. He's like he's the baddest MFer of all bad MFers ever. So he's just being around him is like really cool, and he's such a really cool, down to earth, chill guy that it's just like so much fun to talk to. And on a movie set, you spend so much time just kind of standing around shooting the breeze because there's so much downtime in between shots and stuff like that. So it was really cool to just be able to sit around and shoot the breeze with an all-time great like that, and just a chill dude. And a guy I've been a fan of for so long. It's kind of one of those surreal moments that you're in a movie with somebody who you used to watch on your television when you were like a kid. So I've had a million moments like that in my career. So it's pretty cool when it happens.
Did you have to have any special training for the role?
Yeah, we if you're gonna play a cowboy, you should learn how to ride a horse. If you're gonna play John Wick, you need to learn how to shoot a gun, kind of thing. So I had did a lot of training trying to learn the proper techniques to look good on camera and so forth, and martial arts and stuff. I really worked hard for a really long time. I actually dealt with a pretty bad injury and had surgery shortly before the film. I was getting ready for the film. It kind of really derailed my training. I barely made the window where I could actually do the movie. I thought I was going to have to pull out for a minute, but I got in there just barely squeezed in, and it was pretty fun. Really difficult, but really fun to film these fight scenes over about 3 days in Canada, where we filmed in this big warehouse. And it's different than what I normally do, where you go out there for 20 minutes in one shot and have a big fight and then come back to the dressing room and you're done. It's when movies is over a 10-12 hour period, you got to try to keep your intensity up and your energy level up, and stay warm and everything in between shots, because it's like cut, got to remove the camera around, cut like from different angles and so forth. The kind of process that movies are filmed in, obviously. And we didn't have any stunt guys. We just we kind of put together the fight ourselves, kind of with the fight. Me, Alex, my co-star, and the fight coordinator, put together the fight ourselves over a few days, and then executed all the fight scenes ourselves over a few days. And so all the slams and all the falls and suplexes and all that is all like, we're really doing that for real. So it was a pretty physical job, and a lot of really hard work went into it.
Well, we've seen quite a few athletes cross over from wrestling to MMA or vice versa. But do you think on the whole that MMA athletes have respect for pro wrestlers?
Yeah, I think you get a lot of crossover. At the end of the day, that's kind of what the movies, the business of movies, MMA and pro wrestling is basically all the same thing. You're trying to get people invested in characters and stories, and at the end of the day, you want to put butts in seats, whether that's movie theater seats or seats at an arena. And that's the cool thing about this. Basically, the story of the movie is the main gist is, this guy hits the hits the skids, so to speak. You know, he's the worst thing that could happen to him in his mind, being the hero of the movie. Something he could never imagine happens, and he's kind of ruined professionally, personally, financially, and has to climb back and dig all the way back up to the top. And it's kind of an apropos theme for where we are right now, with a lot of people are going to have a lot of struggles financially and so forth. You know, businesses have been shut down, people have been laid off, lost their jobs. And going forward, you know, once the world gets back to normal, people are going to have to kind of dig themselves out of a lot of holes and so forth. So it's a good message to send right now.
You previously starred in 12 Rounds, the WWE movie. How did that come around, and how did that experience compare to doing Cagefighter?
Kind of a similar thing. Just kind of got thrown in my lap. Literally, I was standing by a ring at a WWE event, and Triple H just pulled me aside and said, "Hey, they're interested in you for this movie. Do you want to do it?" And I said, "A movie?" I was like, I'm done almost no like legitimate acting at that point. So I was like, "But how could you turn that down? Like being an action movie? Hell yeah, why not? You know, just to kind of check it off the bucket list, like for fun. Like sure, just to say you did it and maybe you learned something, have some fun along the way. Like I jumped right in, but I learned that was kind of my first big experience. And I actually didn't know that I was going to be like, I was the lead role in that film. And I didn't know that I just kind of figured I'd be like bad guy number 3 who gets like electrocuted or something. I didn't realize that like I was like the lead.
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking on the phone, the director on the phone, and I realized that. I was like, whoa, hold on. You guys know I'm completely unqualified for this, right? Like I've never done any, I don't even know how like a movie set works. I don't know how I knew nothing. So it was a real crash course in learning how to be in a movie, or you know, and you know, stunts and fight choreography, and I like literally I didn't even know where to go. I'm like, where do I stand? Like where, you know, like they're like, no, you have a trailer and we got coffee over here, and I'm just like, I didn't know how anything worked. I was very naive and inexperienced. But I think you find in professional wrestlers and athletes, be it in MMA or even in another sport, when they cross over into films, the way Alex, my co-star, is a professional fighter, now crossing over into the world of getting punched in the face, not for real. And Chuck Liddell, Luke Rockhold, you know, other athletes of other sports who've, you know, and the bigger names, obviously, that have been successful, you know, I think you find that they're always pleasant surprises. Because, you know, in WWE, you know, and now in AEW, you know, we call ourselves like the Navy SEALs of entertainment. So we can do a little bit of it all. But like, we're used to, maybe we come out to the ring and talk some trash on the microphone. Then another guy comes out, talks some trash back to you. Then he comes to the ring, and then you have an impromptu match for 20 minutes. And then at the end of the segment, you go off TV with somebody getting thrown off a stage or thrown through a flaming table or something like that. So it's basically like you go out there and do your own dialogue, your own fight scene, and then your own stunt, all in one take, all on live TV. So we're very used to being having our being like held close to the flame, and used to all that pressure and used to anything. So when you get like and the work ethic of professional wrestlers and athletes from MMA or other sports, I think you find if you cast a professional wrestler in your movie, you'll find a super hardworking guy that will, or girl, that will probably pleasantly surprise you with how well they take to it. You know, it's kind of a duck to water, because we're, you know, the professional wrestlers are the Navy SEALs of entertainment. You know, we can do a little bit of it all, you know, and especially with, you know, the fight scenes and fight choreography and stunts and stuff like that. Like, we're used to all that physicality. So, you know, I think it's always a pleasant surprise. Like, look at Dave Bautista, you know, He came in as a dark horse in the Avengers, and now he's like one of the most popular characters in the whole Marvel universe. So, that's what you get when you have the the work ethic and passion of professional wrestlers and athletes is really translates to the movie set.
Right now, it seems like wrestling's the only thing that's still going with AEW and WWE. How do you feel about that? Do you have any like fears or trepidations when it comes to working during this time?
Safety is obviously the number one priority, and pro wrestling at best, there's so much real trouble going on in the world right now, and so many people are being taking a hit financially, or even worse things happening, and like in the grand scheme of things, pro wrestling's not important at all. But at best, what we can do is provide a little bit of a distraction, or I think more importantly, inspiration, because pro wrestling is telling stories, not unlike this movie, the story of, being at your lowest point and thinking that the world is ended, and climbing all the way back up, and, getting everything back in order and getting back to the top, so to speak. So at best, we can provide distraction or inspiration for people to stand in the face of fear and uncertainty and so forth like that. But that's the best we can do.
You did have a match with Jake Hager a couple of weeks ago. How did you approach that one differently, given the setting?
There was nobody in the building. At the time, we didn't know when we'd be able to film again. There was less than 10 people allowed in the building, and we only had a few hours. The particular building we were at, it's half outdoors, so you have to wait till it's dark. So we only had a few hours and a few people the day I was there to film, and so we just threw together, just filmed as much stuff in one night as we can to get something together to kind of scrape together for TV. They ended up taping more stuff after that, and that's kind of what Dynamite on TNT on Wednesdays has been this amalgamation of everything. It's been the TNT title tournament, which was a really smart idea to do because it kind of kept a coherent story over the last 4 weeks or so from taped content. That match, though, it was like get as much stuff in the can as we can, build a title program and build a challenger as fast as we can, and which is really easy with Jake Hager because he's a legitimate all-American wrestler, an undefeated MMA fighter. I mean, he's a true badass and instant contender, and can whoop anybody's ass in the locker room that he wants to. So that he was an ideal guy to put in there on short notice, and it's kind of similar when there's nobody in the building. It's kind of more similar to acting. Like pro wrestling is, one take, live. You're reading the energy of the audience. You're adjusting to the energy of the audience. You're playing off the audience. You can change things on the fly. It's basically for the audience. So you take that critical element out of the game. It's like for a second you go like, okay, well, there's no audience. Why are we even doing this? But you're playing for the television cameras. So it's more like acting, where in pro wrestling it's very big and over the top, and you play to the guy up in the cheap seats in the top of the building. You want to be big and over the top. But in acting, a lot of times you find, and I learned this, on my first experience on a movie set, a lot of times it's like you tone it down because it's more intimate. You have to get into that headspace where it's real to you. And I'm not the greatest actor in the world. I'm far from Daniel Day-Lewis or something like that, but it's a thing I think I can improve on and keep getting better. I think I could actually, with more opportunities like this, I think I could be a pretty decent actor, and it is a craft and stuff. But it is more to answer your question, this match was more in that mindset of like, okay, there's nobody here. can't be big and over the top and play the audience. You have to get in that headspace that this is real, and you're really in a fight and a struggle with this man. And we had a really very realistic, very hard hitting match, and it was really fun to just kind of get lost in your own headspace for 15 minutes or whatever it was. It was really fun, so it's a different mindset.
And last summer, you had just an amazing run in the G1 tournament in New Japan, and every match just seemed so different. Was there one match that stands out for you as your favorite?
I think the one that kind of stands out to me, I had a match with Tomohiro Ishii at Korakuen Hall early on in the tournament, and it was my first main event ever in New Japan. And I felt like I came in, first night in New Japan, it was my first match outside of WWE, and had to kind of reestablish, who I am, bring back the kind of style of wrestler that I was before, and kind of be something new. And I wanted to kind of, I was something of a reinvention or a rediscovery or whatever. First night in New Japan, I felt like it was a do or die situation, and I had to knock it out of the park, and I did. But then the G1 steps it up another level. This is the best athletes in pro wrestling and the best, toughest tournament in the world. It's like the, being in G1 is kind of like a badge of honor. It's like the Olympics of professional wrestling. It's like the top of the top. And when you're in a main event on one of those shows, especially at a historic building like Korakuen Hall, the pressure is on. You got to really deliver. And luckily, I had an opponent in Ishii that's very similar mindset to me, where it's just where it's a fight. We're trying to kill each other. We're trying to hurt each other. It's foot to the gas pedal, nonstop, and it felt like a do or die situation. I felt like I knocked it out of the park, and it just was so rewarding. That match was kind of the definition of a G1 match, where it's 20 minutes, foot to the gas pedal, do not take a breath for 20 minutes, just absolutely go, go, go. And we did not stop. It was from the bell, it was on, and we did not stop moving or take a breath for 24 minutes or whatever it was. And it was very rewarding when we got to the finish line, and it was a war of attrition. And I was fortunate enough to get to the finish line, 1 second before Ishii in that match. And it was just a great feeling afterward, just feeling all right, I felt like that was a big step to where okay, I'm kind of prove that I belonged in a G1 kind of thing.
In AEW, it seems you get so much more creative freedom than you ever did in WWE. Is that same creative freedom present in New Japan?
Yeah, 100%. It's you have in AEW, it's all a collaborative effort. It's an initial idea from somewhere, and then people add to it and talk about it, and whatever. And ultimately, the performers get to go out and be themselves and do things and do their presentation, their idea, the way they imagine it, whether it's Matt Hardy and Vanguard or Darby Allin with a flamethrower or whatever it is. Everybody's going out there and kind of, it's, you get authentic performances. It's not something from some writer's room somebody wrote and something somebody's having to kind of try to portray that somebody else came up with. It's and that's half the fun of wrestling, is just talking about it and the creative process and just bandying about ideas and so forth. And it's the same thing in New Japan. There's a clear vision and a booker, and we know what destination where we're going, but it's really up to you to figure out how to get there. And it's very fun. We had a Texas death match with Lance Archer, and I just a few minutes before I went out to challenge him to this match, we knew it was going to be something of a wild match, and I was just I just thought it'd be cool to call it a Texas death match because Lance Archer's from Texas, and to make it stand out on the card at Wrestle Kingdom and sound different, and rather than just saying no disqualification, like that's pretty boring, you know. But like Texas death match sounds cool, and basically, and change the rules a little bit, you know. And so 5 minutes before I go out there, I'm just like, yeah, is that cool with everybody? Everybody's like, yeah, that's cool, okay, you know. And you don't have to run it through some giant bureaucracy to get anything approved, you know. You just go out there and, you know, and what's the Texas death match going to be? I don't know. We'll figure it out, you know. Let's figure out the rules. Did kind of a last man standing type of rules, you know, with the 10 count, which hadn't been done to my knowledge anytime recently in Japan. So I wasn't even sure if the audience would be familiar with that type of drama of like the standing 10 count. I had good last man standing matches in WWE, so I know they worked, but in front of a new audience who's never seen that rules, I wasn't sure if they would get it and understand it at first, but they got it immediately. And it was really stood out on the card as something different, which was my goal, to just kind of do something a little different on the card and be memorable. And I was really, really proud we were able to do that, you know. With, you know, I had matches with Minoru Suzuki, who was a dream opponent of mine, and me and him are basically think exactly alike and are just kind of mirror images of each other in some strange way. And, you know, we just go out there and make it up as we go along, basically, like say a few words to each other, maybe a couple major things or the finish or whatever, but basically just go out there on the fly and ad lib and fight and just use our charisma and knowledge and instincts and just go out there and beat the hell out of each other. And it's total freedom. And that's like a total freedom is such a great feeling.
And recently there's been quite a few wrestlers released by WWE, and you got to leave on your own terms, but what do you think is the best advice you can give to someone that's been released and wants to establish themselves outside of the company?
Yeah, it was a very unfortunate time to get a phone call like that. You know, I was heartbroken that morning when that news was coming out for all those people. A lot of those people are my friends and obviously my former coworkers, and it was, you know, heartbreaking. But you know, my experience, you know, in life, oftentimes, more often than not, it's always darkest before the dawn kind of thing. So, and you never, something that was you thought was a bad thing at the time, years later you look back and say, well, if that hadn't happened, then this wouldn't happen as a result, and then this wouldn't happen as a result of that, and then I wouldn't be where I'm at today. You know, in my experience, you know, I had an injury once that, you know, added months onto my contract. And my contract ended up ending 3 weeks before Double or Nothing, which was amazing timing and one of the best moments of my career. So it's like, as much as that injury sucked, you look back on it and go, well, if that hadn't happened, I don't know if the timing would have worked out so perfectly for Double or Nothing. So it's kind of like, believe what you want to believe, you know. But, you know, I like to believe sometimes that things happen for a reason. So my advice to those people would be, you know, just, you know, focus on the opportunity and the endless opportunity that's out there in professional wrestling and in life and in entertainment right now. And, you know, you are a Navy SEAL of entertainment, as I said before, and you can do anything. The world of movies and film is wide open. The world of professional wrestling is wide open. With the way technology is and so forth, creating your own content and having your own YouTube or Twitch or whatever, making your own stuff, like basically the opportunities are endless. So, you know, take this opportunity to, you know, just look at the positives. The opportunities now are endless, which is very exciting for me as a wrestling fan and as a fan of so many of these people, and a lot of them are my friends, and I can't wait to see what they do and how they blossom and grow, and I can't wait to see what all these people do.
So Chris Jericho defeated, Jake Hager defeated. Who do you look at next on the AEW roster that you would really like to feud with?
A big thing for a big part of my job now is from, well, it always has been. A big part of my job is the same, not dissimilar to Chris Jericho, where, you know, it's up to us to build the new guys and establish new guys and, you know, make them into bigger stars on television to the wrestling audience. And we have so many great young talent, be they Joey Janela, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, MJF, the list goes on. You know, so a big part of my job is to, you know, make these guys into bigger stars. And that's you know, something I plan to do and I've tried to do. You know, it's been so rewarding to get in the ring with these young guys on Dynamite and that are just being themselves and having fun and get to be a true representation of who they think, and they're just so like unfiltered, you know, going out there with a Joey Janela or a Sammy Guevara and just like doing everything I can to get them over is like super fun for me. So, you know, that's a big part of my job. But right now, the way the world is, you know, I won the world title on a Saturday, was in front of a crowd on a Wednesday, and the very next week after that was, you know, 10 days later after I won the title, we were not in front of people anymore. So it's a very not ideal situation. So part of the second part of my job right now is just, if I can, is to you know, is to just provide some kind of inspiration for people. You know, going forward, there's gonna be a lot of people dealing with scary times, and you know, it's gonna be my job to be a representation of staring down any challenge without fear and you know, trucking forward and so forth. So taking on all comers kind of thing. And I think through all this craziness and how everything kind of got screwed up and all the plans got screwed up as far as, you know, blood and guts, and which was going to have 11,000 people in Newark in the New York City area, you know, and that all got scrapped. Everything just kind of, everything is kind of in flux. That I think somebody unexpected will step up, and somebody with the guts to step into the challenge in a short notice situation. Somebody unexpected will emerge out of this kind of tornado of insanity that's been happening. And, you know, whatever that challenge is, I got to face it down without fear.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Jon, for talking to me.
Thank you. Yeah, totally. Appreciate it.